to the top. Ragamuffin keeps striving in every way. International, what they call me international. When me ride palm with them in the move, but the rhythm and I come down crucial. And me ride palm with them and then we sit down steady. Body me on the place, I with the one Jamal skinny. We are the general. We sit up on the rhythm and the open the mic incredible. I'm be right part of the rhythm, move with the rhythm, I sit down steady. Every ragamuffin you do, I feel rock and follow me. You know you love her for your life. Make me jump up on the rhythm, make me ride it. We chat up on the mic and keep it international. Cause anytime we chop a mic, they call we give it a general. International, what they call me international. When me ride palm with them in the move with the rhythm and I come down crucial. And me ride palm with them and then we sit down steady. Body me on the place, I with the one Jamal skinny.
Yes. What's up, everybody? Joshua Casper, we're back at you with Plug-in Boutique, and I've got something extra special for you today. We're joined by none other than Ashibah for another Studio Secrets production. Ashibah, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I am fantastic. Excited to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
If you want, why don't you give everybody a little bit about yourself and what we might be doing today on the stream? I'll leave it with you.
Yes. So my name is Sarah. It's also Shiva. That's my artist name. And I'm a songwriter, producer, DJ, a lot of different things. And today we're going to have a little bit of a look at my workflow and how I like to work when I'm creating music. I get a lot of questions about how, because I travel a lot and I'm a lot on the run, I get a lot of questions about how I get to working fast, or like how my setup is and how can I be creative and my templates and stuff like that. So I'm going to have a bit of a look on what I do when I just open my computer and I want to be creative, and how my setup is and my workflow. So that's one of the things we're going to talk about, and some tips and tricks and a little bit of vocals, a little bit of everything. So yeah.
Nice.
That's the plan.
I've recently listened to a bunch of your music on Spotify, which everybody should do. Johan, please put a link to her Spotify in the chat if you would be so kind. Is that you singing on the bulk of those tracks?
It is. Majority of them, yeah. Like 95%. I think we have a couple that are instrumental, but yeah, all of the vocals are my vocals. Yeah.
Very powerful. Very powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am very lucky to be able to write all my songs with my partner. She's amazing, and she is one of the most incredible songwriters I've ever worked with. So we do the last like five years, everything that I've put out there has been written with her. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Okay. Is she part of any other element or aspect of the process, or is it just in the songwriting aspect?
It's in the songwriting aspect. She has really good ears, so I run everything by her, So, but she's really, really. She didn't work with music before we met each other, so it was quite fun to start that journey together. So yeah, so we started writing music together. So it's mostly vocals and melodies that we do together because she plays the piano. So she's my muse.
Nice.
Yeah.
You also recently did a sample pack for Loop Cloud. Can
Yes.
you tell us a little bit about that?
That was so much fun and extremely intimidating at the same time because I've never done that before. I'm a sample pack girl. I love me some samples. So
Same.
yeah, it's just so I was like when I got that project, I was like, fuck yeah. I'm allowed to curse, right? I'm not sure if I'm allowed to curse or not online.
Let's. I
Keep
mean,
it light.
if yeah,
Keep it
yeah.
light. Okay, good. So I thought it was a lot of fun to start working on that project because I'd never done that before. And what it really helped me do is to get organized about how I actually work. I think that when you I have a lot of different ways of working, but this helped me kind of get organized with how I like to work and what I like to do. So it was so much fun. I worked a lot specifically on those vocals and vocal chops, which is one of the things that I love to do a lot. So that was one of the main focuses of the sample pack. But it was so much fun. It was really, really, really a lot of fun.
So people will be able to find Ashibah vocals in that pack. What sort
Yes.
of genre, not to pigeonhole it by any means, obviously you can use any sample for any genre, but what sort of styles or, yeah, I'm blanking on the other thing, but what sort of styles can people expect from the Ashibah sample pack?
I think it's a mixture of like house and a little bit of melodic house. Those are the two things that I love to do. I like to make emotional music you can dance to. That's
Yeah.
kind of how what I call it. I don't know if it has a genre, but I think that that's one of the things that really categorizes what I do is that I like to like get you dancing and uplifted, but have a little bit of an emotional aspect in the chord progression and so on. So
Is it fair to say that that's the type of music you make is right in line with the sample pack itself?
I would say yes, definitely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I know people are excited to get in and get some of these studio secrets. So what I'm going to do is flip over to your desktop now,
Excellent.
and hopefully it shows up. There it is. Perfect. Where are we going to start today?
We are going to start. So I've have a little bit of a plan for us, so
Okay.
we can be strategic. I'm going to start by showing you. Is my desktop showing now?
It sure
So
is.
you can
Yep.
see what I'm doing. Yeah. All this stuff right here is just because for my sanity. It's
Yeah.
because I've done this. This is kind of the template that I've created in my Ableton. So every time I open, I kind of that's what I see and that's how I work. And then further down here, we have a project that it's my latest release that came out last week with an incredible producer from Copenhagen called Rune Rask. So we did this collab. So we're going to go through that one later.
Nice.
But I wanted to kind of start by showing you kind of what happens when I turn on my Ableton and what I do.
All right.
That's the plan. I'm a big fan of the Loop Cloud app. I think it's really, really, really great tool to get creative fast. And I usually use it to kind of trigger, like to create a nice beat, nice flow going, and then I try to play around with some of my bass lines and yeah, everything else in Ableton afterwards. So, for example, like I'm really in love with the new sample pack that I really hope I say her name right. Yulia Nico? Is that how you
Yulia.
say that?
Yulia Nico.
Julia. Okay, it's like Julia but with a Y.
Exactly.
Okay, I think she did an amazing job on the latest sample pack. So I've been really enjoying playing with that one. So I was like, I usually go in. Let's just keep it nice and simple. Create a nice little, good flow going. It's a little loud. Is it too loud on your end, or is it good?
Seems all right to me.
It seems all right to you. Good, 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 good. And then I'll go. Oh shit! See, this is what happens when you're nervous. You start fucking up.
It's all right.
Just so everybody knows, this is the first live stream I ever do. So if I mess up a little bit, it's because I'm kind of nervous. So yeah,
I think
bear
we're
with
all
me.
good. You're all good.
So yeah, I love that you can just kind of get a little flow going. Sometimes I like to use some of these. I think some of these templates that they have here are super, super, super nice. Let's try. I was a little too busy.
I love that you can set the pattern, then just seamlessly flip through the different samples.
It's awesome. It's such a great tool because you're always going to change, or at least I always end up changing a lot of stuff in the groove, but you want to get something flowing that can, start triggering, creating bass lines, creating, chord progressions, or even have a vocal or stuff like that. You can even pop vocals in there. It's super, super nice just to kind of get started. So I usually just create a beat, and then that's going, and then I go on to the next thing. So, and some of these patterns are super, super nice. Let me see here. There's one that I really like. That one, I love that one. Nice and crispy and short. Can't go wrong with that, right? And then some, let me see, put it into a, we could do something like that. Again, I'm just playing around. This is just me trying to.
I love that you've hearted everything in there.
Yeah, it's because then I don't have to because look how much we've got. There's a lot of stuff here. So I've just hearted everything because then I'm I have her whole pack. And plus, you never go wrong with giving out enough hearts, right?
Yeah.
Let's try it.
Sarah, at the bottom of your screen, there's a little floaty window. You can...
A little floaty window. Where?
At the very bottom. Yeah, you can hide that.
There we go.
Yep, perfect.
We're just going to get that going for it. So that's kind of what I do here, and then I let it kind of flow, and then I can go into my bass lines, for example, and start working. Here is one of these. I'm just going to mute that so I can talk a little bit. So this is one of the tricks that I love to use. I have tried, of course, if you have an idea for a bass line, go for it. I love to just play around and stuff, create a nice sub first and foremost. That's giving me a good idea of the low end of my track. Because sometimes, majority of the tracks that I do are going to be on dance floors. So I want to be in control of my low end as much as possible, because that's the stuff that kind of, messes up there. But now we're talking, because today's about tips and tricks and what you do. And I actually really want to make sure that I do something that people can use. I think that's really important, that I'm not just sitting here but actually people get some of their money's worth, as you would call it. Right?
Yeah.
And this little thing right here is one of the most awesomest small plugins that I've seen. Do you know this one?
I've never seen it before. I love the UI there, though. It looks fun.
Right? And when you press it, his face changes. It's really fun. You'll see. Okay. So this is this is a MIDI note sequence randomizer that a really good friend of mine, Mr. Jean Bacaheza, who's an incredible teacher, he taught me everything I know, showed me, because he loves to find all kinds of stuff. So we found this one on a masterclass, and it really helps if you're stuck in a situation where you don't really know how to get that bass line really tight, or you're running out of ideas and you've tried a lot of different things or stuff like that. I use this one on bass lines sometimes. I use it also on my vocal chops. All my vocal chops, and a lot of that have been triggered by this little Satan right there. So yeah, it does look a little creepy, doesn't it?
I love it though. I love it.
Yeah. And so you can use it with your bass lines, you can use it with your percussion, you can use it with your drums, you can use it with a lot of different stuff. So it's nice to kind of trigger creativity if you're stuck. And not only stuck, but if you just, on your way going somewhere and you want, to just get into it fast. So we're going to try to get into it fast. I usually, in my template, where is my mouse? It's over there. A second, let me find my mouse. There we go. In my template, just to go back a bit, I have my little loop cloud, PlayStation, as I call it, at the top. I have my kick, my drum groups ready. Already, one thing that I love to do is to have my my plugins, my audio, what's it called? Plugins ready to, if I want to do some automation or anything. So it's just easy to go to. And here on my bass line, all right, so I usually like to use the Jupiter or Serum, which I know a lot of people like to use. The V3 is also one that I enjoy using. Those are kind of my three go-tos when I'm not sitting with something analog. I do recommend, really highly recommend the Novation Peak, which also there's a Novation Summit, a bigger one. The Peak is the desktop one. The Summit one is the big I don't know how to say that, but you know what I mean, the big one. So, and it have you tried the Novation Peak?
I unfortunately have not.
Okay, it's a really great synth. It's not super expensive, which is nice because sometimes you feel like you're gonna have to sell your car and your house to be able to buy one. Yeah, but it's actually, the Peak one is actually, I don't know how much it is in dollars, but it's a really nice one. It's a polyphonic synth. It's great for bass lines. It's incredible for bass lines. It's incredible for, it has a really beautiful, crispy, authentic sound. It also has great leads, really nice presets, but also a lot of space for you to work with, which I think sometimes, and it's not super complex. My issue with synths is, and I actually have some synths that I've never used. I just think they're pretty. I gather them instead of, like, some people buy art. I actually just buy synths because I think they're pretty. So,
they're both quite pricey if you start getting the really priced
it's true.
pieces.
But it's a good investment, right? Because just like art, as far as I know, if you buy a good synth, you can sell that at some point and just retire some of them. So I really enjoyed the Novation Peak because it has, it's easy to use. Because some of these synths, when you buy them, you end up spending way too much time on programming or finding sounds or playing. And I think that what they managed to do with Innovation Peak is that they made it like super easy to work.
Nice.
It's just really user friendly. It's got really nice effects directly on it, and the filter's super nice on there. There's a lot of things on it that are really nice. So if you're creating any kinds or forms of electronic music, I think that it works for any genre in there. It's beautiful. It's pretty much like say 70% of the music I've released the last 5 years. 5 years is probably made, no less, 4 years is made on that one.
All right,
give or take.
Noted.
So yes, and they're not sponsoring me or anything. I'm just saying this because I like it. So maybe they will after this.
Yeah. Hey, Novation, hit us up.
Yeah, hit us up. Give me some more of that good stuff. So yeah, but when I'm using my VSTs for my bass lines, I like to use a good old classic Jupiter, which is a nice one. I love that one. Or a Serum I use for bass lines. So yeah. So let me show you how this little Sting guy works.
All right.
All right. So turn it on. Here. Make sure I have everything else muted, or else we're gonna have a little. There we go. So, as you can see, it's already playing different kind of notes. But what I love about it is when you press on this guy's face, it changes the sequence. And then here on the density, you can change how many notes you want it to use.
Are you keeping it in a single key, or how does that work?
Yes, I am actually. I think that you can what I usually do is I'll try to create a sequence that I like, and then I'll change the notes afterwards.
So you're getting sort of the rhythm or the groove of it, and then
Exactly.
okay,
And then I'll start playing with what I've got afterwards, which I think this is kind of just to trigger a certain amount of notes and sequences, and then from there I can play around with the notes afterwards.
I'm almost certain that's a Max for Live device.
Interesting.
Because I believe only Max for Live devices can have like fun UIs like that in Ableton Live. I could be wrong though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I actually don't remember. I'm trying to think where we found it or where he found it. But I can ask him though. I can ask him, so we can always follow up on that. But it was a really cool master class. I remember he told me that kind of, and when I use it later for vocal chops, which is mostly what I use it for, that's where the fun is, because you can really play with it there. Like, for example, well, I'm gonna wait. Let me not go there.
That's
but
fine.
yeah, so this is kind of a, like, speaking of, let's just, for fun, let me just do this. Let me see here. One second, I'm just gonna group it up. I like to keep it on the low end, not too many. So, because then you don't have to, like, then you don't have too much to work with. You choose your little MIDI there, and then pretty much just super simple to use. Nope, forgot something. Sorry, that was my bad. It needs to be a MIDI.
I think you got to arm the channel.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I forgot. You gotta arm the channel. Again, this is not a sequence that but then you can, from there, you can use that on your leads, you can use that on your bass lines, you can play around with it from there. And yeah, and I think this is such a nice tool, especially if you're playing around with if you want. And then usually what I do is, of course, I'll have the drums going in the background, so you have like a, and then you can just play around. Pretty much that's how it works.
Nice.
So it's fun. It's a nice one to use on another thing that I forgot to write is all of my templates, which I found, if you are a DJ and you need to test your music on dance floors, and usually what I like to do is to create like just a nice good DJ mix and stuff. I always have all my my channels ready a little bit lower on the volume, so I don't overexpose myself.
Yeah.
So that's something that I usually do on the templates. I always tell people, if you're going to use it on dance floors, just make sure that your channels are a little bit on the low end, a little bit lower, so just so you don't,
Do you perform with live then?
I actually, yes and no. And
right.
let me tell you why yes and why no.
Okay.
When I have a couple of different setups. I have a normal DJ setup, but then I do mostly live vocals on all my DJs live shows, or on all my shows, actually, my DJ shows. So usually I use Ableton when I start using the live elements on that.
Nice.
And what I've done now is that I have like a live setup for Ableton, where I have my vocal chains and everything that I need for my vocals. But then I was using Ableton before for for example, my peak or my synthesizer or whatever that I added sometimes to my set. But I stopped using that, and I started using the DJS sampler that Pioneer made, which is really, 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 really nice. It's super, super nice to use, because if you are a DJ and you want to add a little bit of sass and a little bit of layering to your sets, the DJS sampler is such a nice tool. It's a sequencer that you can, and it has a really nice, how can I say, it has a really nice software that you can download. So you can pretty much prepare everything, all your scenes and your pattern, like everything all in the program itself. So when you put your USB in there, you just have everything syncing to your CDJs, which is really nice when you're playing. But what's really cool about it is that you can use it with your synthesizers. So the clock goes through the synth. Let me try that one more time. The clock goes through the DJ sampler. So when you're playing your synth, you can use the sampler as your note and MIDI keyboard.
Nice.
Which is so much fun. So you can, like, if you're playing a track and you feel it needs a little bit of an edge, you can just be like, okay, turn on whatever you've got over there and then make a little sequence and add it on top, whatever it is, and then the track that you're playing becomes a little bit more fancy.
Are there live sets on YouTube or something people can check out?
Not yet, but I'm going to actually, because I just started including the DJS sampler on this last tour. So I'm going to record a big set of that as soon as I get back to Denmark. I'm in Brazil right now on tour, so that's why you see the white wall. I'm sitting in I'm not sitting in the studio, I'm sitting in a very little sterile office.
Brazil.
Yes, I'm in Brazil. I'm in Sao Paulo right now, and I'm actually playing tonight, so I'm excited and I'm nervous at the same time. So,
Where are you playing tonight for our viewers in Brazil?
I am playing in Sao Paulo in a place called Arca. It's a beautiful, beautiful venue with it's called, I'm gonna have to curse because that's the name of the festival. It's called Not Another Fucking Festival with Chris Lake and Fisher. And I'm playing I'm warming up for them, so I'm really excited. It's gonna be a nice one.
It's gonna be a massive show.
It's gonna be a massive one. I think it's gonna be a massive one. And it's not raining, which is amazing. The weather is nice, so I think it's gonna be a really nice evening. I'm excited. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why I'm sitting in a little bit of like a little white office in the background. So that's why I'm not in my studio. But okay, I lost where were we? Can you remind me?
Just now or before just now?
Before just now.
I mean, we just got through using I think I forgot the name of it, Sting to make a bass line. Yeah.
And well, it wasn't a very effective bass line, but it's a nice tool. Again, the idea with this stream for me was to kind of give some tips and tricks that people can actually use, so they can try them out themselves. That's what I think. That's the streams that I watch are the ones, and the ones that I enjoy the most are the ones that I'm like, oh, I can go home and try that and just make it my own.
Love that.
Which I think is really nice. So yeah, that's more important. So, yeah. So that was it. The bass line, I'm going to show you guys how to use it also for vocals later a little bit, which is, that's one of the things that I really enjoy. In my template here under music, I don't actually have a lot because it completely depends on the track and what I end up doing with it. I love to use, which we used a lot on the track that I'm going to present, is I love to use the M1, the good old M1. When it comes to house music, you can't really go wrong with that one. It has some really nice leads and pianos that you can use. So it's a nice way to. And sometimes if you're stuck when it comes to chords and playing around with chords and making a nice sequence, that also can be troubling. I know that you guys have a good one that's called Scalar.
Yep.
And which is a nice one. And there's also one called Tonally that I've tested out, which actually is nice. And I know a lot of people have a very mixed opinion about this topic. But I think that if it helps you get to where you want to go, if it helps your creativity, if it helps you create the sound that you want, that identifies who you are, or if it helps you in any way to get where you want to go, I'm all for it. I'm always all for it. Of course, everything with balance. So make sure you still have yourself in that.
Yeah,
that's the best advice I can give there.
I think it's a tool, just like a hammer. Yeah. The hammer helps you build your house.
Yeah. But the reason I mentioned it is that some people do have mixed feelings about that.
Yeah.
They want you for you to learn how to play. I'll tell you something. Yes, I do work with vocals and I do produce and everything, but I am not a composer. So a lot of the skills that I learned when production, I learned from Ableton or from Logic or whatever it is that I used. So sometimes a little inspiration or a little help, a tool exactly, can help. Sometimes
100%.
you don't need to make the pasta from scratch. Sometimes you buy the pasta,
Yep.
but you make the marinara sauce from scratch. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it depends. So it's nice to have, if you're going to end up using something, I think it's nice to have that function for sure.
100% agree. 100.
Yeah. Awesome. When it comes to the effects, I use samples. My risers, my sweeps, my everything. I use Loop Cloud, especially a lot because they have a lot of nice ones there. I'm not gonna sit and I don't feel like that's where I should use my energy. I use my energy on a lot of other stuff. So my word of advice is always, use samples on that because there's so many amazing samples out there. And there's some of them that are made on that are made in a way that I would never be able to make them myself because, it's a real drummer or it's actually a person that knows what they're doing. So, so it's actually quite nice to use. So a lot of them, I use actually on Loop Cloud or the sample packs that I've gathered over the years. I have a nice big fat folder full of my favorite samples that I use,
Same.
Like
100%. I mean,
toolbox,
it's like,
right?
How many different ways can you build or make a white noise riser? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're completely preaching to the choir. I totally agree. And then you can tweak and twerk it the way that you want it. If you have like a nice snare fill, you can cut it up and chop it or do whatever you want. But exactly, there's sometimes you don't have to make the whole meal from scratch. You can also save yourself some time and focus on that's the number one. I always, when I speak to people, the number one advice I can say is you have a certain amount of gas in the tank. Use the gas on the stuff that you actually feel is relevant to you, to the song, to what you're creating. That's number one. So this is maybe not where you should be using your gasolina, as we would say in Brazil.
Another helpful tip that I might throw out there, if you don't mind, is
please do share the wisdom.
If you want to stay away from using an explosion from a sample library, is take a day just to make explosions. You're going to learn a lot about different synths and processing and sound design, and then you'll have your own essentially sample pack of explosions that you custom made. But like if you're in the middle of a creative moment, you definitely don't want to be slowing down to make, put a fat reverb on a kick to make an explosion. Like just keep going with the creativity while you can. That's what I would say.
I couldn't agree more. It's funny you should say that. Take a day. I have a day right now. It used to be every week, but now it's every 2 weeks because I don't always have the time, where I call it research day. And it's literally just a day that I spend listening to new software or like researching new software, listening to new preset sample packs, what's out there that people are sharing right now, new tunes, new stuff like that, new tutorials, all kinds of stuff. I just take a whole day where I just gather information and make a little folder. And then some of it I end up using and some of it, it's just, in the back catalog and I might use it one day, but you can never get enough knowledge.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah. That's kind of, on that note, I think that's, I agree with you. I think that it's good to kind of over the years, you also end up creating your own, like folder of samples, but not only samples, but samples that you've resampled and chopped up and played around with that you put in a folder that become yours now. And so I think that just don't limit yourself and don't, always try something at least once. So Anyway, here we're in the vocal chop section, which I think is one of the things that I love playing with. And on this one, we definitely have the sting. I use the sting on this one quite sometimes. For example, my track Devotion that came out on DFTD, I wanted to do like a vocal chop. I felt like it was missing something, and I use these vocal chops a lot. I think and just it just really gives a little bit of flavor and uniqueness to a track. One person that I think is pioneering at that, and I love what he does, is Fred again, for example. The way that he plays with vocals and the way that he manipulates vocals, I think is fantastic. So I think that that's one of the things that I really enjoy playing around with. I've taken, let's see what we have here. I'm make sure that I close up the bass lines here so we don't have to listen to this while we're doing it. There we go. All right. So you take a nice acapella that you have lying around. This one is
I can't hear that for some reason. Can you?
I can't hear that either.
Okay.
Why is that not playing?
You maybe set it to auto. Where?
Oh yeah.
No. Let me see if.
Isn't that interesting? Wait, I know why. It's because I muted the group.
There you go.
It's always something simple. It's like, why isn't my computer working? The power plug isn't in, that kind of thing. Yeah.
All I need is hot, sick devotion, some true emotion.
This is one of it's really fun. This track was actually one of those tracks that it's really hard sometimes to make those like one-liners, because writing a whole song sometimes is a lot easier than just writing like a small kind of riffy, which is one of the things that we love to use in house music. It's just something short and catchy. So this one, when we nailed it, we were extremely happy. It took us like a week. So
that's interesting. You just said it takes longer to write something short than a whole song.
It does, actually.
Yeah. I guess, yeah.
I can sometimes, like when we've had sessions and top line sessions, and I think when you have a full song, I think you have a story and you have like a flexibility to write and to develop your melodies, because you kind of have it's like it's like when you're running a marathon, you have a little bit of time to kind of get the momentum going, but when you're running a sprint, you just got to get to 100 from 1 to 100 really quickly. And I think that sometimes it's actually a lot more difficult to write a two-liner or a one-liner. For example, one of my the one that I think it was Steve Lacy that wrote for Calvin Harris on, or his name is Love Regenerator, I think. The one, I can't live without your love, which is just like a nice, simple one-liner, which I love that one. It's such a nice one, but it's really short, catchy, and it's not, if you think about it, it's not complex at all, but sometimes the things that are simple are actually the hardest to make.
Yeah, I mean, it seems easy once you find it.
Yeah.
But getting to 100% agree with you now that I'm thinking about it critically. You hear it and you're just like, that is simple, but
I could have written that in 2 minutes.
100%.
Like,
but then do it.
People,
go ahead and do it.
That's the thing. When people say that to me, I'm like, I give them that kind of, the resting bitch face, and I'm kind of like, I'd like to see you try.
Yeah.
Because it's not as easy as it looks. It's really not. Yeah. And Devotion, for example, we spent a bunch of time writing different top lines, and I think I remember actually when I was cooking and we were having a break, and we were just looping it in the studio, because we had a studio at home at that time, and then all of a sudden my wife goes da da da, and I was like, stop. And then I walked in, and then some tune, like it just kind of and then it's exactly when you make it, you're like, oh, okay, but it took us a while to get to that. So sometimes it just takes a fucking long time, and you just gotta, if you're not feeling that it's if it's not there, and you still, like, a part of you is not feeling that it's 100% there, it's probably not. So yeah. Anyway, we'll go back to the vocal here.
All right.
So here, for example, I just used this one because I thought it was, maybe some people know this one. It's a little bit easier to use that one. So what we do here is we go in on it, select it all, and Command U to kind of get those markers.
Is that for transients then?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then Oh, it's been a while since I did this. What do I usually do? Hold on 1 second. Oh, now I remember. Add a MIDI. Actually, yes. And then I take the thing. Where is this thing? There it is. Put it on the channel.
I don't think it's a MIDI effect. I don't think it's going to go on the audio.
No, I also put it on the wrong one. 1 second. Why is it not working with me here?
Would you not put the audio into the sampler right there?
No, I would not. Oh, now I remember what I did wrong. See, this is why I have a table of contents, because I knew I was going to forget something. Gotta slice it up. There we go. And now we delete that one. Now we put the sampler on there, or the sequencer on there. Here we go. Delete this one. And here you can just go nuts with it, which I love. You can play a lot of different. And that's actually how I came up with some of those, pretty much the entire sample pack that I did for Loop Cloud. I used Sting to kind of chop things up, and then afterwards, I manipulated. I used some different plugins. I'm going to mention what I like to use there too and stuff like that. But that was one of the ways that I did it. So it's a lot of fun to play with it on that one.
Yeah. It also, if you're using a vocal like that, it removes the issue of key as well. It's just all going to always be in the
100%.
key. Yeah.
Exactly. Which is really, really nice, because then you can just pretty much pop it into any project and then play with it in any kind of form, which is really nice. I think that it again, it depends on what you can do this a lot of different ways. Some people use the sampler, some people, I like to, because majority of the tracks that I do have some kind of layer or two underneath of some kind of vocal chops. It's just really low in the mix, but kind of gives you a little bit of flavor. And I do that on pretty much every single track that I've done.
Nice. Good tip. Good tip. Sting.
Yeah.
Johan, if we haven't found it, man, let's try to hunt that down and put a link to it in the chat, please.
For example, let me just show you. Speaking of, a lot of this.
We are not hearing those previews.
Oh, you're not hearing that. Okay, sorry. Maybe that's why I didn't get a reaction from you. I was expecting a lot more. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry. I think maybe you got it's like the way you have it performance set up for auditioning.
Yeah. Let me just insert a little audio here. But for example, here, this one, for example, is it this one, I think, here? I'll just delete this.
Is this from the sample pack?
This is from the sample pack, for example. Can have something like that lying there. I created that, for example, on the Sting. This is also a nice one. And these kind of layers are just, I use them a lot in my tracks.
It really helped to fill it out, I think. Yeah. Do you think you use them more as filler in the background, or more of a lead feature for a drop or something like that?
No, more of a filler. These are kind of like, I would call these effects. I would call these more of an effect. Yeah. Usually if I'm going to do like a one-liner or something like that, I end up doing like a real one-liner and then before a drop or something like that. I use them for ambience. I use them for I could use it in a break, definitely, like to give some dynamics and to give a little bit of a vocal lightness feel that really helps. Sometimes when you have like a nice tech house or a house break, you need something that keeps you interested, and
Ear
usually
candy.
that kind ear candy. That's the right word. Ear candy is the right word, and this kind of stuff is quite nice ear candy for me, at least. I like that. So
Nice. How many of those are in the sample pack? It looks like quite a beefy folder there.
look at that, all of that, all of that. That's
Nice.
all vocals, different chops, different one-liners. A lot of it, yeah, you can use for as leads or as layering. Again, it depends on what you're creating. I would say completely depends on what you're creating, but you can definitely use it for both. And that's where the sting, for example, if you have any kind of, also because if you take a sample, and it can be difficult to clear some samples sometimes, and you want to manipulate the sample in a way so you don't have to go through that entire process, and you want to make it to your own, make it into your own. Something like this can really help you kind of, like, again, we played with it for like 2 minutes, and I just download it and play with it. You can do a lot more with it, so it's really nice. So you can change the length, you can change the density, everything you can change. So it's a nice little element to add to your, like, also because we can sometimes in electronic music we can be a little bit vocal scared, I call it, when we don't want too much vocal but we want a little bit there.
Yeah.
So that's where sometimes these kind of chops and loops and things that you can manipulate in that way.
Do you ever make instrumental music? Or
in what sense?
Like, I mean, without the vocals.
Oh, instrumental yes, I do actually. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought you meant like creating instruments. I'm like, no, I'm not that. Yes, I do actually I do, and I'm starting to do a lot more with other artists. I'm enjoying working. I'm working with a couple of different vocalists right now, which I really love because I'm doing my first album as we speak.
Nice.
And that's going to have other, and that's going to be all kinds of electronic music. So from some of it's a little bit drum and bass, and some of it's like it's mixed. Yeah. I'm trying
When can people expect that?
Hopefully, if everything goes by as planned, by the end of the year, if not the beginning of next year.
Right.
I'm launching my own label in a month where I will be releasing some of my own tunes there.
Nice. And where can people follow you on socials to stay up to date when the tracks do come out?
Instagram, SoundCloud. Those are two platforms I use a lot. Instagram and SoundCloud. I think those are the ones that
Ashibah? You were lucky enough to get Ashibah? Like
yes.
Nice.
I was. I'm that old that I'm
Oh no.
So yeah, it's if you just search for Ashibah, I should pop up there in there. So yeah. And I usually post about everything, so you can find a lot of the stuff there.
Nice.
So one thing that people ask me usually is, when you are recording vocals, what kind of, like, I like to keep things simple. I don't like to overdo things. So I usually use a very kind of simple chain. A nice, obviously a little bit of tune always helps anyone. So I use a little bit of tune on there. A nice fab filter, which you don't have to use that one necessarily, but EQ it so you get what's it called? Just take a little bit of the low out and a little bit of the top out, so you have a little bit of boosts. That gives you a little bit of air on the top, and just basic. I love using I love when you do what's it called, mixing and stuff, a little bit of de-esser on there. I use this one actually has been quite nice when you're recording. I don't know if you know this one.
It's a really popular one. Yeah,
it's a really popular one. And I'm also, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keep it simple, because some of these you can easily buy plugins and all kinds of stuff that's super expensive, but keep it simple when you're recording.
But definitely buy lots of plugins. So head over to pluginboutique.com today.
All these are bought, by the way. So I'm not saying don't buy plugins. I'm just saying you don't have to, there's some of them that are super, super expensive, but you can, another thing, microphone, for example. Right now I'm using the Shure SM7B, which is, there you go. It's For vocals, when I'm traveling, I travel a lot. So I have the UAD Volt interface, which is a nice one actually. And I use the SM7B. You can record anywhere in the
On
world.
your final vocals, you use the SM7B. I find it quite
No.
a little bit damp on the high end. So
Exactly.
yeah,
I don't. I do my demo vocals on the SM7B,
there you go.
and
Yeah.
if they like it, and they're like, we love it, I do my vocal recording on a nicer mic. I do say you can, just like with any other gear, you can buy yourself pretty much poor in gear. So there's microphones that are, I've used the Neumann TM, what's it called? The TLM 49 for years, which is a nice, not super expensive, really good. But I've had the pleasure of like my two favorite microphones to sing in is the Manley Reference. It's a nice one. It's a classic one.
All right.
And the Tilifunk, the big juicy one. I've tried those too. Those are fun. But you don't need to use that much money for a microphone, I would say.
Yeah.
But demo vocals and for pitching and stuff, I actually feel like the SM7B is good enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a great microphone, don't get me wrong. I just can't, it does really roll off some of the higher end, so it makes sense. But like to do scratch vocals, it makes perfect sense to use it.
It does. And I'll be honest, it also depends on what kind of vocal you're doing. Are you like for rap and for MCing and stuff, for some of the tech house things where you have like, or I've done those kind of talk. I did a track called On the Line with Saffron Stone from the UK, where I'm just kind of talking, and we have another one we're working on with another great artist. I did those on this one. That was the final vocal.
Oh, wow.
I didn't feel like I needed to do much more, but we did again manipulate the vocal a lot, so you can't really. So I did it on this one actually. That's I use a lot the audio plugins that I use when I'm playing with vocals. Is the one, of course, the Alter Boy is a good one to kind of. I'm pretty sure a lot of people use that one, and I really enjoy. Let me remember where it is. I don't remember who made it. There we go. This one.
RC20.
Yeah, I love that one. It's really, really nice. And I also use to give a, like if you're using the vocal on a break and you're looking for a little bit of grandness, a lot of reverb, layer delay, the endless smile from Data Life is quite nice too. Is that a no-go?
No, it's not at all. It's just a fun plugin.
It's such a fun, and another thing, it's fun to look at. Like I love using it just for the fact that it's I love using it just for the fact that it's like this guy. It's so cute.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
So so I use that on breaks, on long breaks. If you have, if you want to give a little bit of space and dynamic and drama. I use it for drama. I think that's the right word.
Yeah.
So and a little bit of medium reverb to give it a little bit of nice yumminess. That's pretty much.
Which reverb is that? I can't see.
That's the Valhalla.
Yeah.
One, which is a nice, good and classic one, but I think there's a lot of ones depending if you, just so you know, I've worked in Logic when it came to vocals for many, many years because Ableton didn't have comping and all of that and wasn't super vocal friendly.
Yeah.
So I used Logic for many years, but I feel like after they did that, I'm trying to move everything over to Ableton, but it's really hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah. So I do record my vocals at the moment still in Logic and sometimes in Ableton, depending if I'm being brave. So.
Yeah, I get it.
So that's why, that's pretty much kind of the completely simple setup that I do have, that I use. And I can see that we're almost out of time. Or do we have...
Got a little bit of time if you want to show us some bits about this track. I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah. This track is called Feed Your Soul. We used this is actually not an original vocal. We used a sample, actually, funny enough, a sample pack vocal from Tool Room, a nice, good classic one. They have some nice sample packs. So this one, just to give you an idea, we kept it. Oh, it's looping. Hold on 1 second. Majority of the elements on this track were actually made on the M1. The bass line actually Rune made. He has a Moog 1, and I wasn't gonna start arguing with him about where we made the bass line. So he has again, I don't know if you call it Moog or Moog. There are lots of different.
It's Moog. I've had
it
Moog.
is Moog.
I've had Moog on stream, and they've been very definitive about it.
Have they? Okay, because it's a lot. So I just want to make sure I'm saying it right. It is 100% Moog.
Moog, yep. Because the founder, I believe, is Bob Moog, was his name.
Well, that makes total sense. They should add that to some kind of, because a lot of people say different things.
It was the first question I asked when I had a gentleman from there on the stream. I said, "Is it Moog or Moog?" Because the debate rages on. If you ever go like on Reddit or a forum or below a video on YouTube, people are pretty passionate both ways.
Yeah. But it's no matter what, Moog or Moog, it's they have incredible synthesizers. So we made the bass line actually on the Moog one. He has an incredible big one. So it's and then we did the piano here, which is for me the star of the track. We did it on the M1. I added a little bit of a we added an ARP on there to give it a little bit of drama, and that's the vocal. Here are all my effects, as I was saying.
That's a fun little synth hit there.
Yeah. That is a serum. I used a serum on that one. I felt like it needed some kind of a call and response after the drop and with the vocal. I love, especially with house and tech house and stuff, the whole call and response concept is super, super important. Yeah. So I do love to do that. I usually use that. That's what I use sometimes my vocal chops too. Also, I didn't mention that, but that works really well if you have like a drop and where you have a vocal that you have like some kind of stab or a plug that kind of gives you that call and response, and that's something that really resonates really well on the dance floor. And again, keep it simple. If you feel like you have too many of those, then you have too many of those. So keep it simple, not to use too many. But
good tip.
Yeah, this one's been actually fun to play on the dance floor. It's been a lot of fun to play this one on the dance floor. It's been have a really nice reaction. One thing that I do not do is I do not master and mix my own stuff because I am not an engineer. And so I leave everything very, as you can see, very clear and spacious for him to work. I have an incredible mix and master engineer that lives in Portugal, Fabric. And so we've been working together for many, many, many years. So every time I do something, I send it to him and he kind of, I can still do I have my own master chain if I want to do a DJ like master, just so I can play it and test it on the floor. There's a lot of really nice different strips for that. This one that Christoph made is a really nice one. It's all made with plugins from Ableton themselves.
All right.
I just added on there. Wait, show you. if I add it here, will it affect the listen to thing? No, right? We'll be fine.
If you add it after, we won't be able to hear it.
Okay. But I'm just going to show it just so people can see.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So,
we will hear it now.
no, I won't play it. I won't play anything.
Okay.
But it has it's a really nice one. I found it. It was also, again, on one of the master classes, but it uses all the different plugins that you already have in Ableton, so you don't have to like go out and buy stuff.
Love that.
If you want the link to, if there's any of these things that anybody wants links of, you're more than welcome to hit me up on Instagram, or I don't know if they're gonna hit you up and then you hit me up or whatever, you know what I mean? So we'll figure that out. But yeah, some of these so that one I use for like when I'm doing like a nice DJ master to test it out, and if I can feel, oh, it works, then I send it over to Bernardo, who knocks it out of the park for me. So yeah.
Does he have the can he add things or take away things, or is his job strictly to balance and deal with frequencies?
Strictly to balance and deal with frequencies.
Gotcha.
I try to send him everything as easy to work with as possible, so it just kind of, he enhances it, nothing more than that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice. Was there anything else you wanted to show us in the track?
Not right now, actually. No. Mostly I wanted to spend time on everything else, but I think that's about it. Yeah, so far so good.
We've got just a few questions here if you want to knock these out of the park.
Please, let's do it.
Pretty easy one right out of the gate. How long have you been making music?
I have been writing songs and singing since I was 7 years old. I have been producing vocals when I was from the age of around 19, 20. I started music production, like really intensively music production, about 5-6 years ago. So,
all right. And another question, I think you kind of touched on this, but perhaps if you wanted to elaborate or repeat, sure. What are some of your favorite synths, or which specifically did you use in the making of the sample pack?
Analog, I would say, I think I already mentioned Novation Peak is a really, really nice one. I actually use that one quite a lot on the sample pack. I love for leads and for I do, like, again, I work within house and melodic house, so it depends again what I'm creating, but when it comes to like house I use M1 for a little bit more of the melodic side, and I use a Diva. I do like that one. That's a nice one.
It's a great synth.
Yeah, great synth. I use that one. Bass lines, I use Serum quite a bit. I think it's such a nice plugin, and it's super solid. You know what you've got, and you can really manipulate a lot. So I use that one a lot. I also do use the Jupiter sometimes, the Mini V3. I use that one too, but those. And then, of course, again, Novation Peak. And if I get a chance to go to Rune's studio, I will try to use the Moog as much as I possibly can. So he has an incredible collection. So sometimes if he's really, really nice to let me come and push some buttons around.
Have you tried out Pigments from Arturia yet?
I've heard about that one. No, I have not.
Phenomenal.
How is it? Is it easy? Is it one of those situations where I'll be spending like 3 weeks figuring it out how it works, or is it actually like user-friendly?
Well, it's as user-friendly as you want it to be. I would say the library that comes with it, or the packs that you can add onto it, I mean, the richness and full-bodiedness of the sounds that come out of there are just insane. It's my favorite synth. People who are watching on the Plugin Boutique channel know this, but highly recommend if you can to check it out.
I want to, because I've heard about it. A lot of people have actually mentioned it to me. So it's actually something that I'm definitely gonna.
I think one of the things that I like about it the most is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, is you can go as deep down the rabbit hole as you want to by way of sound design, but if you're just looking to get a fat bass, it's easy if you know, as Serum or something like that. Yeah. Definitely something to check out if you can.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to check that out on my to-do list for my next research day.
All right. And last question I have here is, do you have a go-to delay?
Do I what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
A go-to delay plugin.
Oh, go to delay. Actually, yes. I would probably say I also do use Valhalla once in a while, but actually like the Arturia one. Do I remember what it's called? No, of course I don't.
That's all right.
The Delay Eternity. I use that one.
The Eternity delay. There you go.
No, sorry, the tape one is nicer. Sorry, tape one. They're both good.
All right. Nice. Well, Ashibah, thank you very much for coming on stream today. I know you're a busy person and you got a show to prepare for tonight.
Yeah.
But it's been a lot of fun. It's been very insightful. And, I hope we can do it again. Once your album comes out, if you want to walk us through a few tracks, don't hesitate to reach out. I think you've got my email and everything. Just ping me and we shall do this again. Absolutely. It's been a blast.
It was so much fun. Thank you all for tuning in. And I hope that some of the tricks and tips that I mentioned could help you. And if you have any questions or is it anything at all that I can, I love paying it forward and sharing. Maybe you guys actually have something that I could learn. So if there's anything that you feel that I could learn, please send me a message on Instagram. It's been so much fun. Definitely up for doing it again.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Joshua Casper here with Plugin Boutique. This is my guest, Ashibah. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you in the next live stream.
Keep on rising to the top. Ragamuffin keeps striving.